Good afternoon and welcome to the Happy Half Hour. I'm Leigh Kubin.
And I'm Sandra Priestley. Welcome to our podcast. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
I am drinking ice water today. And as we've been chatting before the podcast, I have drank almost all of it.
Oh,
So,
well,
yeah, good for my system, but
so I've got a Starbucks espresso with a vanilla protein shake in
oh,
it.
cool.
I had 4 hours of sleep last night.
Oh,
I have had meetings all the way through lunch. And I knew I wasn't going to have time to eat, and I needed coffee, and I needed food. And so that seemed like a logical choice.
I like it. I like
Hmm. So I've got a quote for you.
Okay.
And this is from Peter Crone. Control is a byproduct of fear. I only need to try and control things if I am scared. How does that sit?
That sits like a very well-fitted shirt on me because it feels like me in a nutshell. It feels like me. I often will explain this way.
Okay.
And I recently was listening to a podcast, and I think it was Dr. Gabor Mate, but in saying that, I'm not positive, but it sounds like him.
Hmm.
But where I came from was a lot of times I feel as though a lack of information feels unsafe to me, and that creates anxiety. And so I picture myself needing, like having a 3,000 piece puzzle in front of me or needing to put together this 3,000 piece puzzle. But I maybe start out with 100 pieces and I can't see what's going to happen. I can't see the whole picture.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, that's life, not knowing what's going to happen. But for
Yeah.
me, the anxiety is not having all the puzzle pieces. And so I seek my pieces. I seek to gather clues, even completely irrelevant clues, like even things that don't mean anything, but I'm
Mhm.
grasping for puzzle pieces. So I might be grasping a Blues Clues puzzle piece and it's not my puzzle, I'm grasping all of these things and trying to make a picture so that I can predict chaos. Because if I can predict the chaos that could come, then I have things that I believe I can do to control in the present so that I'm safe. And that's basically what he was talking about. Is like, um, as a child of an alcoholic, you live in chaos or the potential for chaos. So even when you're safe, even when there's nothing happening, even that when everything is fine, there's always the potential that something could happen, sideswipe you, and you don't know it's coming, and that feels really unsafe. So if you can find all of the information, scrap it together, and try to visualize your picture, you
Your
know,
Blues Clues puzzle.
I bet, right? I then can do what I can to control the outcome. And then I feel safe. I feel safe within my body if I know the potential pitfalls. Now, imagine this when we talk about manifestation.
Mm. Hmm.
It's working against me here.
Well, it's kind of like your clock block in the universe. I mean,
Totally.
because when we trust
Mhm.
and allow and sit and wonder, like, I don't know how this is all going to shake out. That's not my job. I have to listen and act and let the universe or the angels, God, come
Yeah,
in and knock my socks off because
right.
what they do, our little tiny minds cannot think that big. And it's sort of like when I tell Paul a dream I have of something I want done to the house. So we'll talk about when I found this New Orleans mantle that was rescued from Katrina. We found it in an antique shop, and I swear to you, Sandra, it found us because we stopped in there for no reason. Like there was zero reason for us to stop there. But we were driving by, and I said, "Oh, that looks like a cute little place." And Paul goes, "Let's go in." We were coming home from Houston. Paul's like, "Let's stop and go in." So we did. And we're just nosing around, and there it is. Now it is yellow with green underneath and scratches, and you can see brown at the very bottom, like layers and layers and layers of paint. It's old, but you can tell, like, and I walked up to it and I was like, I have to have this. And Paul said, okay. I said, can you take our stone mantle off and put this in its place? And he said, yeah, we just need to measure to make sure the opening will fit. And I said, okay. So I told the lady, I said, can you hold this for me? I said, if you just let, because it's about an hour and a half from us. I said, if you will hold it when we get home, we'll measure. And if it's the same size, I'll call you back, pay for it. And then I'll have my father-in-law come pick it up on his way in town next weekend. We get home, we measure it. It fits like perfect, like that was made for our fireplace. So we call, I pay for it, and we start talking about what we're going to do. And I'm dreaming about what I want to do. So I'm just telling Paul I see shiplap, and I don't know how to do any of this. I don't know how to strip the wood. I don't know, like, my point is, we have this beautiful, magnificent shiplap wall with this big mantle, and then these bricks that we came across from a friend of ours who bought these bricks from New York City, and it was from 100-year-old building that was torn down.
Wow.
And he sold them to us for next to nothing because they were his scraps. They were what he didn't need for his office. And it was just enough to do the inside of the fireplace and then around the base. I did not see it looking the way it looks when I was dreaming it in my head. Paul came in, Paul, the universe, and worked his magic and brought the vision of what I was describing to him to life better than I could have asked for. You could have given me the shiplap and the New York brick and the New Orleans fireplace and the paint and the stain and all the stuff. I would not have known what to do with it. And the universe works the same way as Paul. We dream it, they build it if we let them. Sometimes we're like, I'm going to build it. And we build a piece of shit. That's
Yeah.
putting it a little harsh, but for real.
Mhm.
But when we just dream and allow and wonder, how is this going to show up? How am I going to be inspired today?
Well, and it's so interesting because one of the things that I feel most that I'm trying to control
Hmm.
the outcome is with my son. Not so much with my
Mm,
daughter. She's very consequential she's similar to me, so she thinks in consequences, whereas my son not as much, right?
hmm
So he has a chronic injury, just injured himself again, and this next year is his draft year for pro football. And it just seems like there is barrier after barrier after barrier that is coming towards him. But also, I feel like there are things that I want to him to do that could eliminate some of those barriers. And so, of course, when you tell someone to do something, that's a surefire way of them not doing it.
hmm
So I am now sitting trying to gather my puzzle pieces, trying to put all the puzzle pieces his puzzle together. It's so interesting because I was telling this story to my friend saying I'm really struggling with letting go,
hmm
with letting go of the control. And to me, I'm leaning more to fear instead of faith, right?
hmm
Instead of the magic. Like, what is going to happen if I just leave it up to magic, leave it up to God? And so when I was saying this, I was telling her this story, and I was like, oh, this is what's happening. He could go up to the draft, but he's got these injuries and he could defer. And, what could happen here? Like, what should he do? What should he do? I need some puzzle pieces to figure out what I need to tell him to do
Yeah.
so that the best of the best happens. And it was so interesting because she said one sentence and it was just so peaceful to me. And all she said was, it will be interesting to see what is within his control. And it felt like, ah, because the majority of things are not in our control. I mean, we just let it up to the universe. So it's like, anything could happen here.
hmm
And if he's meant to go in the draft in 2026, I guess everything will work out. And if he's meant to defer for a year, I guess everything is going to work out.
hmm
But it's like, it's going to be interesting to see what is within his control and what is not. And I think the majority of our life is probably the universe, God, the angels, the guides, the spirits. I mean,
I mean,
and
and part of it's the
working against it.
stories that we tell and the
Yeah.
expectations that we have as well.
Yes,
But,
absolutely.
and we were talking about this a few weeks ago. Do you trust your internal guidance system?
Mm. Wow.
You know? Because if
Yes.
you do, if you trust yours and you listen to yours, he has one too.
And
And-
and likely he doesn't listen to it. He
But
does.
he might not have to
It
because you're
needs to,
always there
you see, it needs to
to.
be mine. It needs to be the same as mine.
Here's the thing, the longer we mother them,
Oh,
the longer we will be mothering them because then they expect it. Then it takes all of the responsibility off of them. Well, mom didn't tell me to do it. What was I supposed to do?
well, and it also robs. I mean, I know this. I know this.
Hmm
This is my trauma response showing up that I need to work on.
Yeah.
But when I was managing, I used to say all the time to the people on my team, the case managers on my team, that if we take care of everything for a client, if we do all of the work, we make sure that they show up to the appointments. We make sure we make the appointments. We make sure that they are showing up to them and what happened. We're phoning all the time. What happens is we stop all independence.
hmm
We create this feeling that the person is never going to be independent. And also, we rob them of the joy of doing it themselves.
Yeah.
We rob them of this feeling of accomplishment.
Because they think we did
Oh,
it.
yes.
They don't see their power in it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I know all the things, but
Yeah.
when I'm in that sort of spiral
Yeah.
and going down that rabbit hill, as Cam says, when I do that, it's like, whoa, that trauma response is strong like an addiction. It feels like an addiction.
It is an addiction because
It
you
just,
get a dopamine hit
mhm.
every time you have those thoughts.
It feels like more than dopamine. It feels like crack.
Yeah,
Like
okay. Well, then let's go. Let's just hit a
I've never done
crack.
crack, but that's what,
You do a
and
hit.
just as damaging
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
health.
Absolutely. No, being stuck in that place of fear, it feels awful.
Yeah,
And they can feel it from us,
yeah,
you know? They can
yeah,
totally feel what we're thinking about them, what we're feeling about them, and then they feel like a failure and I can't even take care of myself and my mom just
yeah,
all of this stuff.
yeah,
There is nothing that feels worse. There are probably some things that feel worse than to have a parent look at you with pity or like you don't know what the hell you're doing with your life.
yeah.
And you don't want him to get stuck there.
No, exactly.
Isn't
That is
it the stuff that just continues to show up? Oh, gotta heal
right.
this.
I know. It's just layers of an onion. And I mean, as they say, we repeat what we do not repair.
Yeah. Well,
So
and
repair is where I'm at.
it's funny. I had a hypnotherapy patient or client that she called me last Wednesday. I think I saw her like Monday or Tuesday for her weekly session. And then a day later, she calls me or texts me, I've got to come see you ASAP. I had this thing happen with my girlfriends and this is a thing that she's been working on. So in order to prove to me that she wasn't making it up, she sends me all of the texts. And so I'm reading the text and I'm going, I think you're making an assumption that all this means something that I don't think it necessarily means. I'm not saying it doesn't mean that, but it isn't a clear cut. Like, does what this says is not what you're feeling. And so we're kind of going through it. I'm like, okay, we'll talk tomorrow because she was right. And she comes in for the session, had a rough night, upset, and then she's got this big event with all of these friends coming up, and she's gonna have to see them, and now she thinks they all hate her, and we do the session. She's feeling better. She's like, oh, okay, I can focus. She calls me later than in the day. You're not gonna believe this. And she's like, I'm gonna text you something. And so she texted me. It was a text from one of the ladies going, thank you so much for saying that you couldn't make this thing this Saturday because she didn't want to get sick. She has a big trip coming up and she didn't want to get sick. And one of the girls had been really sick. So she was just like, I'm not going. And she thought they all got mad and canceled the whole event and were mad at her. The girl that was hosting was still sick.
Oh, geez.
And she said, she happened to text her and go, thank you so much for canceling it because you made it so easy to just not do the event because I am still sick and this one didn't really have time to do it and it worked out better than like it was just perfect. I'm like, how long did you waste in fear and making up bullshit stories that were not even true? And you lost a day of your life.
Yeah.
And so we're talking because that is her thing. That is one of the things that she does to sabotage herself because then she takes her eye off the ball of what she's doing in her life. And I said, but here's the thing that you have to understand. Knowing this isn't enough. I mean, you've seen it up close and personal a couple times where you see the end result come back to you that tell you you've been wasting your time making up a story here. I said, but what's going to have to happen is next time this happens, you have to tell a different story because you've seen it several times now. Let that be your default of telling that I don't know what this means. And we have to repeat things. So it pops up and we think the universe is just like bitch slapping us. Here we go again.
Yeah.
It's trying to heal us. It's giving us an opportunity to show ourselves our growth.
One of the things that keeps coming up as you're talking is I work with this client who has the same pattern as me, go figure, right? We usually attract people that are similar to us or, similar to who we were 30 minutes ago or 30 days ago or, 30
Yeah.
years ago. So she's sort of in the same pattern. What's interesting is it's so easy to look outside of ourselves and be able to see it in someone else, see the way through
Hmm.
someone else. And because we don't have their feelings, we're not, but in ourselves, it's a little bit more difficult. Not more difficult to change, more difficult because we have our own limiting beliefs and our own internal bullshit going on that tries to tell us, no, it's not that simple. When I coach someone else, I can see it's very simple. We can see what you need to do. But in my head, it becomes more complex because I love it, right? Like I hold
Oh,
on to
because you want to hang on to it.
it, of course, because it's my safety. It's my safety
Mhm.
mechanism, even though it's really not. I was watching an Instagram reel or TikTok or something, and this woman was talking about an Instagram reel or TikTok that she had seen by someone else that blew her mind. And it was this. Imagine that there is a room full of people that are watching a movie of your life. And all of a sudden, everyone in the room, all of these women that are sitting around with their wine and their cheese, all of them are watching and they start screaming at you to do something. What is that thing that you need to do? How can you do it right fucking now? Is
Wow.
spectacular. And what that does is it takes me out of my head and puts me into more of an objective
Yeah.
view of my own fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved it so much. And it was like, just like I feel I feel like watching a scary movie and everyone is, don't go in there. Like, what are you
What
doing?
are
Don't.
you doing?
Or The Bachelor. Why are you picking the douchebag?
Hmm.
Or The Bachelorette, I mean. And so yeah, it was such a good thing for me this week to really go, okay, if I had a room full of women, wine and cheese on their couch, having a big, huge party, watching my
Yeah.
life on a movie,
Yeah.
they would be screaming at me, what the fuck are you doing?
Hmm.
Stop wasting your time. You can't control him. It's not helping. Like,
Yeah.
you can't control this, or not even him, but this
Yeah.
situation. Let it go. It's going to be fine.
Mhm.
There's much that is not in our control, and you know, it's the universe's.
And do you trust the universe? That's the question. Or
Right.
God or the angel. I mean, Do you trust that?
Well, remember a couple of years ago when I was going through something and I bought this big, huge sign that says, give it to God and go to sleep?
Yeah.
I literally repeated it probably 50 times a day, sometimes, like to an obsessive amount. But if I had any sort of feeling that was less than faith,
Yeah.
I would say that give it to God and go to sleep. Give it to
And
God and go to sleep.
I remember that particular situation.
Hmm.
That was, I think, much even bigger than what is currently happening. It was
Oh, yeah,
different, but it was
different.
bigger.
Hmm.
And I told you, this is all working out for him.
Hmm.
This is all happening to make him level up,
Hmm.
to help him evolve. And it all worked out
Totally.
better than you could have even imagined.
Yes, absolutely. It's
And
like
then something else
short-term
happened.
gain, long-term gain sometimes, right? And one of the things I think is that we want to avoid the short-term pain. But then we also delay the magic by
Yeah.
doing that.
But you have, I mean, just in the past 3 years
We've been here.
since we've been here, I think this is kind of the third big thing.
Probably.
And the second big thing, again, upset, but he needed it. It wasn't what necessarily what he wanted, but it's what he needed.
Mhm.
You have two examples of watching things work out for this kid.
Yeah, it always
It
does.
always does.
It always
Always does.
does. It's always working for us.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the thing is, growing pains
Yeah.
are real. And when you have someone that might be stubborn, they might be a little more painful.
Yeah.
It doesn't always look like it is working out. But sitting in that place of knowing, which takes practice, which means, guess what? You get to practice.
Yeah. Gee.
Woohoo!
But it is very true. And I do feel one of the interesting things though that has helped me a lot, and I think it also keeps some people stuck,
Mhm.
is this concept of like for me, it's thinking, oh shit, trauma. This is just trauma response. Okay, let's move. I used to say all the time, if something came up, I go, this is just old shit, let's move. Like that was my statement to myself. This is just old shit. Let's move. This is an old pattern. This is old trauma. This is old going down the rabbit hole for no good reason. This is old shit. And so I probably need to resurrect that sentence. But it felt like as soon as I heard this podcast and he said, "Well, this is a trauma response trying to keep you safe." I could recognize within myself that I did not feel safe within myself. And that it became not really anything about anything outside of me.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, it was only about me feeling safe. That was it. Just me. It wasn't about anyone else. It's not. It's actually not. It's about me, my own safety.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it? So we think, especially as moms with
Yeah.
kids or moms with adult kids, but we think it's about them, and it is not. It's
But
definitely not for
we
me.
will feel safer if their lives are tied up in the bow
We want
we
them to,
want.
or we need them to be. Yes. it
That is
was,
huge.
I know. It was such a moment for me where it was like all of the little pieces came together
Hmm.
in that in that podcast. I'm pretty sure it's Gabor Mate.
But with that, I think we're out of time.
Oh, wow.
Time flies.
Time flies. That's
Thank
true.
you, Sandra. This was amazing. And thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next Thursday on the Happy Half Hour. Bye.